Let's go with a little introduction about Indian English literature. Before we start with Henry Louis Vivian de Rosio, I just want to give a little introduction about our Indian English literature. The Travels of Dean Mohammed is the first book written by an Indian in English, and it is a travel narrative by Sheikh Dean Mohammed, and which was published in England in 1794. The Travels of Dean Mohammed is a travel narrative by a Sheikh Dean Mohammed, which is considered as the first book written by an Indian in English. And it is in epistolary form, which contains 38 letters. And this work gives an insightful and sympathetic account of India and Indian customs. And our Sheikh Dean Mohammed, who is the writer of this work, is an Indian traveler, and by profession he is a surgeon and an entrepreneur who introduced Indian cuisine and shampoo to Europe. As he is a traveler and a surgeon, when he was traveling, he introduced the Indian cuisine and shampoo to Europe. And next is first Indian novel written in English. It is Raj Mohan's Wife, and which was published in 1864, written by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyaya. He started 1838 to 1894. Our protagonist is here in this work, Raj Mohan's Wife, who is the titular character or protagonist of this work is Matangani, and this work revolves around her life. And the next earliest verse play in English was the first Parsi Baronet by C.S. Nazir, and it was subtitled as Being Passages from the Life and Fortunes of the late Sir James G. Jijibai Baronet, which was published in 1866. Okay. First book written in by an Indian in English was
Travels of Dean Mohammed.
Of Dean Mohammed, and the first Indian novel written in English is
Raj Mohan's Wife.
Raj Mohan. And the protagonist name?
The writer's name, that is
Matangini.
Matangini. And the earliest verse play is
The first Parsi
Baronet.
Baronet. Okay, and next we come to the some of the early poets who are very notable in English literature, who are Henry de Rosio, who is a very famous writer of the poem The Harp of India. And next is Michael Madhusudan, who is the writer of Meghanada Bodha Kavya, which is a tragic epic and which is in 9 cantos. Next is Torudat, who is very famously known for A Sheaf Gleaned in French Fields. Ramesh Chandra Dutt, he is the person who translated Ramayana and Mahabharata. And Sri Aurobindo is very famous for writing an epic poem, Savitri, which is subtitled as A Legend and a Symbol. Okay. And Sarojini Naidu is famous for her poem, The Bazaars of Hyderabad. And her brother, Harindranatha Chattopadhyay, who is a contributor of English literature and art, is a poet, dramatist, and actor, musician also, and a member of first Lok Sabha. And he was honored and awarded with Padma Bhushan in 1973. Am I too fast? Should I slow down?
Yes,
Little
ma'am.
Okay.
Little bit, ma'am.
Okay. You don't need to call. I feel so alienated. Suma, you can call me Suma, okay? And can you recall which is the famous work by Michael Madhusudan Dutt? I have not given in this presentation. It is Meghanada Bodha Kavya.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Meghnad
Tragic epic, which is in 9 cantos. Okay.
Hmm.
Torudat is famous for
Our Casavana tree,
or Casavana
Lotus,
tree.
Sita.
Very good.
Thank
Sheaf
you. Thank
greenery,
you, ma'am.
French fields. And Ramesh Chandra Dutt, who is translator. Who translated what?
Translator of Mahabharata and Ramayana.
Ramayana and Mahabharata. And Savitri was written by?
Aurobindo.
Subtitle? Aurobindo.
Savitri
legend something.
A legend and a symbol. And what is the genre of this poem?
Epic.
Epic poem. And the Bazaars of Hyderabad, the poem written by? Sarojini Naidu. And who awarded Padma Bhushan in 1973? Who is the brother of Sarojini Naidu?
Harendranath Chattopadhyay.
Yes, Harendranath Chattopadhyay. These are the notable early poets and who are the early contributors to Indian English literature. These are some of the poets.
In which year he got Padma Bhushan?
1973.
1973.
Harendranath Chattopadhyay. He is the brother of Sarojini Naidu.
Right.
Shall I move to the next?
Yes, ma'am.
To Henry Louis Vivian Derozio. It is his complete name, and shortly we call him as Henry Derozio. And his timeline is 18th April 1809 to 26th December 1831. He was a poet, rationalist thinker, and teacher. And he was an Indian poet of Portuguese origin. His origins is in Portuguese. And he worked as an assistant headmaster of Hindu College, Kolkata. He worked as an assistant headmaster of Hindu College, Kolkata, and he is a radical thinker, first Indian educator, and first educational contributor, and who formed a very movement. It is called as Young Bengal movement. And who emphasized on the Western learning and science among the young men of Bengal. He's the first one to emphasize on Western learning and science in the Bengal. And his former students, because he's a teacher and worked as a headmaster, and being a radical thinker, he was very much influenced his students to think freely, think beyond, and most of his ideas were very much influenced his students, and they all formed a group called as Young Bengal, and they can also be called as Derosians. Okay, and he was died at a very young age, at the age of 22, and because of cholera he has died at the age of 20. And he was known as the first national poet of modern India. As we know, first travelogue was the Travels of Dean Mohammed, and first novel is Rajmohan's Wife, and first verse drama was Passy Baron, first Passy Baronet. Considered to be poetry, he contributed to poetry so much that he was considered as first national poet of modern India. The poetic tradition once again started with Derozio, so he was considered as the first national poet of modern India. And the history of Anglo-Indian poetry typically begins with Derozio. And he started publishing his patriotic verses when he was just 17 years old. He was very much concerned about Indian tradition, culture, and everything that he always celebrated it in his poems. And he was very much patriotic by nature, and he started his writing poetry in a patriotic way in the age of 70. Okay? And his poems are regarded as important landmark in the history of patriotic poetry in India. And he is influenced by romantic poetry, especially poets like Lord Byron and Robert Southey. Throughout his poems, we can see the influence of Lord Byron and Robert Southey, and he is influenced by romantic poetry. Are you getting any?
Yeah, very much.
Is it clear? Are you sure?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Next, come to important works of Henry D'Orazio. First collection of poems. His first collection of poems is known as poems. As most of the poets we have seen, they collected their first collection of poetry in the name of poems. He also started his first collection of, he named it, titled it as poems, which was published in 1827. This collection of poetry includes two major poems, The Harp of India and The Song of Hindustani Minstrel. And his next collection of poetry is known as The Fakir of Jangira, which was subtitled as A Metrical Tale and Other Poems, which was published in 1898. And it also contains two major poems by him. One is India, My Native Land, and The Fakir of Jangira. And his total poetical works are edited by B.B. Shaw in the name of The Poetical Works of Henry Louis Vivian D'Orazio. These are his important and major works by D'Orazio. Now let's come to our major poem, The Harp of India. Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And okay. This poem is an unconventional sonnet. As we all know, a sonnet is a 14 lines short poem. And Petrarchan sonnet and English sonnet, we all know. And here, why it is called as unconventional? Because our poet Henry D'Orazio is against of British rule and their thinking and their writing style. He divided the poem into two parts, and the rhyme scheme also changed. 7 plus 7 he divided. Means in octave and sestet we have 8 plus 6. In octave we have 8, sestet 6. In 8 lines we form a question, and in 6 lines we gave a solution. The same pattern follows, but he divided into equal parts, 7 plus 7. You can see it in the rhyming scheme also. AB, AB, BAB, CD, CD, CBB. It is his rhyming scheme, and it is an unconventional sonnet by Henry D'Orazio. And it is divided into two main parts. In the first part, what he does is celebrates and laments, because he once our Indian past was so glorified and so enriched that now it is all lost. So he's equally celebrating and lamenting on the magnificent Indian past. In the second part, he hopes for the glory to be regained. Whatever we lost and the glory and all the culture we have lost in the second part, he hopes to regain it, retain it back. And in the end, the poet says that even though all the poets' works and all the glory is dead, he still desires and he still wants to revive that literature and bring back the glory to India by writing and reviving all the art forms in this poem. And here harp is metaphorically, it is presenting the poets and art and everything, which was once it was very rich, sweet, and now it was lost their glory because of the British rule, because of the suppression of Britishes. All the glorious and voices and expressions were dead. Our culture is dead. Our tradition is dead. Our writing is, everything was decaying, so that the poet describes here and hopes that by reviving it again, we can bring back glory to back, and the unstrung poetry, unstrung melodies should be back. This is his intention writing in this poem. Can you see the harp?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
How beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I have never seen till now. Because of this poem, I googled and find it so glorious, so beautiful. We all neglected such things. Such things till now we don't know our culture properly and what happened in the past and how it See how beautiful it is. Like Veena, it is also a musical device which is played through the strings. It is so big and so artistic in nature. So I intentionally added this. I wanted to show you all what harp it is.
Yes. It's
And how
beautiful.
it is played, because image just is not enough. How big it is, it should be seen. So I added two images. And yes, this is the poem. In the poetry, the poet Henry Derozio asked so many rhetorical questions. By asking those questions, he wants to uh, awake all of us who were lost, who lost their thoughts and passion for writing or reading and everything. Through that questioning, we want to bring it back and make them aware what we have lost. So the first line of this poetry starts with, "Why hangest thou lonely on your withered bow?" The harp is hanging on a withered bow and unstrung forever, which was unstrung, unplayed for a long time. Must though there remain? How much more time it will be there? His question is that. And thy music once was sweet. Who hears it now? The music of the harp was once very sweet, and now nobody cares to hear it. That was all lost, and we lost our culture and everything. So it is going unheard. And why does the breeze sigh over thee in vain? Even though the breeze is very silent, and all these musical instruments are played through the breeze and the breeze. Here, silence has bound thee with her fatal chain. In this line, can you find out any figure of speech? Silence hath bound thee with her fatal chain. Any
Personification.
yes,
Personification.
Yes, personification. Silence is
excellent.
personified.
Silence, yes, silence is personified with her, and it was given as human nature. So it is
Fatal chain.
example of personification. And the silence had made bound the her voice and everything. It was neglected, mute, and desolate art. So, all art forms are neglected, muted, and desolate, like ruined monument, like the old monuments which are withered and they are decaying. It also being neglected, muted, and desolated. It is also ruining and desolated, decaying day by day on a desert plain. Oh, many a hand more worthy far than mine. It, this is in this line also we can find one of the one figure of speech. Oh, many a hand more worthy far than mine.
As soon as
Synecdoche. Synecdoche. Because part of the body, hand is representing the collection of poets and culture and tradition, which is representing our culture and tradition. So it can be a synecdoche, if I'm not wrong. We can take it as a synecdoche. And the next paragraph is, once thy harmonious chords to sweetness gave. Once upon a time the chords were harmonious and very sweet. They are giving so many good melodies, and many wreath for them did fame and fame. They are very famous and they have fame of flowers still blooming on the minstrel graves. Means the flowers are still blooming in the grave. As the flowers bloom on the grave, it symbolizes the um, enlightening or enlivening experience. Even though like those flowers blooming on the graves, our poetry should regain to its glory, and poetry and art should be regained and start blooming. Those hands are cold. Means those all hands means we can take it as an example as the poetry art, and the artists and the poets were dead. Are cold means are dead. But if thy notes are divine, if the notes are divine, if the words are divine, maybe by mortal wakened once again. They can be awakened once again. Harp of my country. Harp is a metaphorical figure here. Harp is symbolizing our art and literature, music, and everything. Our glorious past, customs, tradition, everything it is there, which is symbolizing harp. He's telling, harp of my country, let me strike the string. He wants to strike the unstrung musical notes, musical thoughts, and all the glorious achievements back from his poem. This is about the harp of India. And the next poem is Song of the Hindustani Minstrel. This is the second poem from the first collection poems, second song from the first collection of poetry, and it is published in 1897. It is structured around three main points. It was structured in three major parts. First, the speaker is describing the beauty of his beloved, who is a Kashmiri girl. In the next stanza, the next part, he is speaking about his poverty. And finally, in the final part, he assures his beloved that soon they will see better days. And at the end of the poem, the poet presents the optimistic picture in front of his beloved. He says that though the world may change, their love for each other will remain the same. This poem can be compared to the Last Ride Together by Robert Browning. We can see the influences, major influences on him. So the song of the Hindustani Minstrel. In the first edition, this poem was the Hindustani was spelled like Hindostani, Hindustani, and it was changed to Hindustani in next. Okay, it was one point to be considered. And next is the Fakir of Jangira. Can you recall in which poetry collection it was? This is from the second collection of, from his second collection of poetry.
Fakir of Jangira, a metrical tale.
Yes. The Fakir of Jangira, a metrical tale and other poems, which was published in 1828. Okay, and this is a long poem which contains 2050 lines. This is the long poem by Louis Vivian Derozio, which is of 2050 lines, and it was written when he was only 19 years. It is notable for its lengthy structure, and it has compared to Lord Byron's Turkish Tales. Once again, here we can see the romantic writer's influence, Lord Byron's Turkish Tales. And the next is To India, My Native Land. It is also one of his patriotic poems. And here he discusses the same things as we have discussed in the Harp of India. And it is also in a form of sonnet. It is a Petrarchan sonnet. And the rhyme scheme is ABAB, AB, CC, DE, DE, FF. And it also shows the influence of romantic poets. And in this poem, the poet was very much pained at the fact that India was under British rule. He was not at all convinced with that, so he write against this theme, and always he is patriotic towards India. So he is lamenting that fact in this movie. And this is all about what I have wanted to share with you, and hopefully I think that it is conveyed to you properly. Hope it helps you. Thank you so much, Prem sir, and to all of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mary. You explained very well the poem, The Harp of India.
I was a little bit nervous, so that's why
Great
I was,
effort.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Suma ma'am.
Thank you so much, all.
I'll just say it's an outstanding performance. Because
Thank you
the
so much.
content
Because
is,
of you, I tried.
yeah, the content is extremely well. I just give you a review so that when you get the next chance, you can improve. The scope of improvement is always there.